how to get back to the heart of your salon and remember why you opened your salon in the first place. Hi, I am Kayla Swanson, and I am your host of the Profitable Salon podcast. And today I have the lucky pleasure of having Brian McCallum on with me. What's up, Brian? How are you?
Hi, Kayla. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on. Brian and I had a conversation before we went live, and I think you're going to love today's episode because one, the passion and excitement that Brian has for his 3 salons in this industry, it just really got me excited for today's topic. So before we dive into that, Brian, please let me know a little bit about yourself and our audience of who you are, where you're from, all those things.
Absolutely. So as I said, thank you very much for having me on the podcast. It's a pleasure. My name is Brian Leo McCallum. So Leo is my nickname. I have been called worse, so you can call me whatever you like. But yeah, I am the owner, educator, leader for Roar Hair and Beauty, which is my 3-salon group, which is a colour-focused salon group in Glasgow in Scotland. I'm so passionate about this industry. I love it. I've been in the industry for probably about 21 years. That's when everybody says, "Oh, you don't look old enough." I know. But I've got to say, it's so exciting, like having the salons, and not one day is the same. And I start off an introduction with, owner, leader, educator. I'm also the janitor, the window washer, the cleaner, like, as I'm sure all salon owners know. So I have that. I had a huge passion for colour and a massive passion for education as well, which is why I love doing things like the podcast. So hopefully our listeners today take something away from today.
Yeah, man, thank you for sharing all that. And if you hadn't noticed, Leo is from Scotland. And so I'm very excited to spend the next 30 minutes getting to enjoy your accent and getting to learn from you.
Hopefully we don't need subtitles, Kayla.
I know. If you do, it's fine. I understand it perfectly well. So that's good. Maybe if you're listening to this, slow it down a little bit and that will be perfectly fine. Before we went live, Leo and I were having a conversation about his passions with his salon and how he's super passionate about just building a salon that you love and building a salon that you don't lose heart in as you build it. Yeah. So Leo, tell me a little bit about like when you opened your salons, because I know that you mentioned that you opened them like right out of COVID. Mm-hmm. And what made you like start to open your salons? I want to get back to to know where it began. So, I mean, when just the last one was just after COVID. So when I first opened the very, very first salon was in 2017. Wow. It was really time for me to do things the way I wanted to do them. I wanted to look after my guests the way I wanted to look after my guests. And we opened with a studio salon. There was one-backwash. It was me. There was a dream. And that was literally it. And, the beautiful thing about that is that we run out of space really, really quickly. The team grew really fast. And that's exactly why we then had to open more space to then accommodate this new need for more guests, which has been amazing. Yeah. That was done really quickly. That was done within I think a year and 8 months. It was so quick getting the second salon open, which was much bigger. And then straight after COVID, people were closing their salons and we had this massive influx of people wanting to come and visit us. So in 2022, we opened another one. So that's where we're at with the 3 salons. And as you said, and we had a chat about earlier, I'm still so passionate about those salons. I love how they've grown organically. And I feel that is a major part of my business plan because I feel sometimes that when you open salons really quickly or you push salon groups, sometimes we can lose the personal touch for the guests or lose where our values or our missions were originally in our business plan. So what I love about the salons, how they've grown now, is that it's been totally organic. Yeah, man, I love what you just said there. And because I feel like sometimes people, to reiterate what you said, is people open their salons and they have this passion, they have the desired outcome, they have this big vision of what they want and why they open it in the first place. One, why they got in the industry. Leo, you were telling me that you wanted to make people feel beautiful, and everyone got into the industry for a reason, and we all have our big why. And then if you usually start as a stylist or a barber or wherever you start, and then if you open your own salon, you have a different vision. It's like, hey, I want to help grow it to another level. I want to impact more people. Then you start your salon, you build your business, things start to get hard. You want to make money. You want to recover from the money that you invested. And then you kind of get off track and it starts to become a business that you're working for rather than a vision that you're working towards.
Absolutely.
And so Leo, tell me a little bit about that in terms of how you have managed to stay on track of like, how do you hold fast to your vision and keep building upon your passion and why you opened it in the first place?
Do you know something, Kayla? That word is so important. The fact that you said your vision. I encourage any salon owner when they open their salon to write down their values they want in their salon, their vision, and also their mission statement, because that's the thing, as well as your numerical business plan of how you want to spend all your money. What you need to do is you need to have those three things written down so that you have a direct link to coming back to seeing where you want to go with that business. And our values were just, to make people look and feel fantastic all the time. We actually have our values that are like an acronym. It stands as CARE. So CARE, and C stands for colour, because we're obsessed with colour. But it also kind of stands for how colourful the salon is, how inclusive it is, how vibrant our personalities are when we work there. A stands for advice. We constantly want to give out the best possible advice with our clients and create trust. CAR. R stands for relax. We're kind of creating these relaxing environments, but without being pretentious. So that environment that you can come in your pajamas, sit down, oh, girl, I've had a day, tell me all about it as we get your hair washed, that kind of thing. And then E stands for excellence. So, just excellence in everything that we do. We want to strive for excellence. And when we don't get excellent, we want to learn from our mistakes. So, there's a massive education thing when it comes to the salons. But as going back to what I was saying, get those values written down, because I have those to go back to all the time. That keeps me passionate and it shows me where I'm driving towards.
Ready to transform your business and improve your salon's profitability? With Lonza's 3-in-1 technology and intermixable shades, your hair color inventory is streamlined with limitless creativity behind the chair. Click the link below to unveil the secret to salon success.
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
We're Forest, born on the salon floor and built for and by hair and beauty professionals like you. Forest is your marketing, your reporting, your reputation management. You need one easy-to-use system that does it all. Forest, together we grow.
Even when you are hiring people or you're adding more to your salon or you're looking at like, is this a good fit for my salon of where I'm headed? You go back to your core values and be like, okay, well, what am I doing this in the first place? Why am I doing this in the first place?
Absolutely. And those people have to fit with your core values. Those people who come in and sit in front of you and interview for that job, they have to fit with your core values. And if they don't,
absolutely
not the right place.
Yeah. And you'll know pretty quickly too. And if they like, hey, this is what my core values are. How do you feel about those? And I love that. And we talk a lot about code of honor. It's instilling basically a list of values that you all abide by. Yep. And so people who've listened to the podcast, you'll relate with the code of honor list of values. I feel like it's similar. I feel like core values is something as a salon owner, you want to establish those of why are you building your salon in the first place? And then when you build your team, your code of honor comes into that and they can connect. You want them to kind of connect. Yeah. I love that you mentioned the mission statement earlier as well. So Leo, as you have built your salons, how have you been able to keep yourself, how have you been able to keep yourself following your vision? I know you said that you list out your core values, going back to that. How do you, when you're making decisions, what process do you put yourself through to make sure you're staying on track with what you want? It's
exactly that. As a process, if I'm making a decision on something that's even if it's a big decision or a small decision, I am very much is this in line with the mission statement? So part of the mission statement is to grow the salons organically. We don't want to, as I said earlier, we don't want to push them too fast that we lose the personal touch that we've got with our guests. So, let's say we're bringing in a new product line, or let's say we're maybe bringing a new member of staff. Is this going to affect our mission? And is it going to affect it negatively? Because if it is, that's not the way forward. Sometimes we can then look at it in the complete opposite, in a really positive way. We might bring in a new member of staff who's really hungry, who maybe wants to partner with us on a new salon. How great is that? Like, that's the kind of thing you want to be excited about. That's then pushing our mission statement forward. So yeah.
Have you ever had an experience when you made a decision to move forward with something and then you had to like realize, oh, that wasn't a good fit? Like, how do you evaluate it after? I know, I imagine so. Like, you're like, well, I don't know for sure. Let's try it. How do you handle that?
So, I mean, I think the thing is you have to learn that it's trial and error. Let's face it, we're all hairdressers. My major learning curve was that I felt like I was a relatively good hairdresser. I enjoy doing hair. When I opened my business, I was like, oh my God, how much stuff do I need to learn now? So that was the crazy thing for me. So a lot of it was like, let's try it. If it doesn't work, what's the worst that can happen? So yeah, I've definitely learned from a lot of trial and error situations. But of course, the other thing that I would recommend to any salon owner out there, get a mentor. Find a mentor who has been there, done it, and you can literally bounce off that person and say, what do you think? Can you be my sounding board for this? Because I find that helped me a lot in the industry.
Yeah. Man, that's powerful. And I think we highly recommend getting yourself people who are in and out of the industry. I think some people's like, well, I have my best friend or I have my person I'm talking to, but even people who have actually owned salons before and building that community within that surrounding community that can support you and they're not in competition with you, which is Absolutely. Why I love our academy so much, is people who are actually on your side and want your success just as much. And because I feel like there can be so much competition with social media and everything out there. Like, this is how you're supposed to do it. And this is like, oh, my salon's better because we look this way. How do you start to how do you personally focus in on building, I'm focusing on my salon and building sticking to your vision and not being swayed by what social media is telling you should happen, or being how do you combat those kinds of influences when you feel like, oh, maybe I should be doing this because they're doing that? Yeah.
Well, Kayla, just to come back, right? You know what you said about the community, that see what you're doing with this podcast, what you're creating. This is exactly what people can tap into. Look at what social media has given us. We have this instant access to information. So all of the listeners who are out there, there's these guests who come on the podcasts who are happy to be here because they want to share education and information. You think about it. If anybody who's out there listening wants to reach out and ask any questions, you know for a fact everybody would be there to help. So to answer that question that you've just asked, it's all about collaboration over competition. Work together, because the salon who is 2 doors down from you has a different rent. They have different members of staff, different product costs. You're never going to be the same. So why bother competing with that salon? Compete with yourself. Worry about doing what you do to the best of your ability, and I can guarantee you will thrive. I love what you said. I want to make sure we get it on this podcast as well, is don't get so focused on trying to change when sometimes what you're doing and who you are and what you've become is exactly what you're supposed to be. Absolutely. So will you expand on that a little bit? I know we were talking about it before of some people are just oh no, we got to be the next best thing. We got to change. We got to evolve. We got to be. And there is a flavor of, yes, evolve with technology and things like that. But in your essence of who you are as a salon, let your character and let your salon almost take its own shape of who it is as a salon. Yeah, absolutely. There's absolutely nothing wrong, and I encourage growth within everybody. You need to grow as a person. What you also need to remember is you need to be yourself. So sometimes that can be really conflicting because people want to grow really quickly, but they don't want to put the groundwork in. And the growth is amazing. When you grow as a person, you grow as an artist, you grow as a business owner, you really see the fruits of your labour. It's amazing. But what you also need to do is remember who you are. Everybody always is told, be yourself, because see if you're yourself, somebody out there is going to love it. And that's the important part when it comes to your salon as well. That heart of your salon is, what is your salon? It's about you. It's about the people who work there, the guests who visit. If you are not necessarily a high-end luxury salon, but you're doing the best possible hair and you're profitable and you have a great business, why strive for something that's not you? There's nothing wrong with growth. You can grow, you can get better, you can make more money, but why strive and change for something that's just not your personality? Be yourself, and again, you will thrive. Man, that's great advice for salon owners, great advice for people. That's just great advice all the way around. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I love, because I know the people who are listening, they're like, well, that's great and all when you have a thriving, profitable salon, but what do I do if my salon's not thriving and profitable and I'm getting to a point where I'm miserable with my salon because it's not working out the way that I wanted? What would you say to those people?
My advice would be, let's strip it back to the silliness. What you need to do is you need to, and what I mean by that is, like, you need to strip it all down. What are the problems? What's giving you the grief? So let's just say, for example, it's the team. For example, you've maybe got a few people in the team who you've employed because they were amazing hairdressers, but maybe the skill set was there, but the other parts of being a team member and playing as a team member and, mucking in and helping out in the salon just isn't there. You need to strip that right down, and then we think, how do we fix this? What are the hard business decisions that we need to make to fix this so that ultimately I can enjoy my business again? Because let's face it, we all opened up a business so that we had a better way of life. We don't want to be stressed out doing it. We want to love it. So we just need to strip it all back down and then figure out the precise part of the problem. And there we go. We've got your solution.
I love that. And I think that people, like, I hope if you're listening to this and that's resonating with you, I think sometimes people get like, well, I can't go backwards because then I'll have failed.
No,
and
you absolutely can. Backwards is great. But if you need to roll back, there is nothing wrong with that, because it will make you more successful. Everybody learns more from a mistake than they learn from getting it right all the time. So I would definitely say strip it back. Let's talk about somebody who maybe isn't profitable, for example. Say they're not making the right amount of money. What do you need to strip it down to? You need to strip down all your pricing. You need to strip down all your outgoings. How much do you need to pay out? How much do you need to bring in? How much do you want to be profitable? And then you put all those numbers together, and I guarantee you'll get a good number, and then you know how to move forward.
Wow. It's funny hearing you say that. I'm like, man, that does seem simple. But I think sometimes people make it so complicated. They're like, no, it's not that simple. It's like,
life is complicated. Life is complicated. Like, who has time to do that? It's like, get the time, you've got to put the time together, etc. So yeah, I understand where the frustration comes from. So, and I've been there as well. Like, as much as I love my salons, I'm in love with them, I have such a good time. I see the frustrations as well. I've been there.
Yeah. Man, that's a good point. And if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, that's where I'm at and I don't really know, like, don't get stuck feeling like there is nowhere to go. And we hear that actually a lot. People be like, I'm ready to close my doors because I don't know what to do next. And just getting back to, shave it down to, why did you open your salon in the first place? Get back to the basics of, where did that drive come from and what are you working towards? And are you trying to change something that's not broken? I know, Leo, you said that earlier of like, don't change something that's not broken just because you're trying to match somebody else who is down the street.
Absolutely.
And I love that.
And as I said, if anybody is at that stage, I'm very much on social media, whatever, please reach out. If I can answer a question that maybe helps, as I said, I'm all about collaboration rather than competition. If I can help anybody, I would be there.
Oh, I love it. We'll put Leo's Instagram in the description of this podcast. You can go, if you want to connect with him, that'd be amazing. He's really fun to talk to. I highly recommend. Leo, I know we talked about how inclusive your spaces are, and I would love to dive into that too. Of just like, how do you foster a very inclusive from your guests to your team to just the vibe, just feeling like no matter who you are, what you are, where you are, you walk into the doors, you feel like you belong.
Yeah. So I really believe that when it comes to social media, when it comes to being in the industry, it's all about storytelling. And very much our story is very much, it's a LGBTQI owned business. So as I said, like, I'm a raging homosexual, love it. And, I perform as a drag queen as well, and what's great is like, that has then led on to our pricing as soon as we opened was gender neutral. There was no point in having any gender attached to price. And that's then just fostered, because that's the story and it's been the narrative the whole way through. That's then fostered amazing guests who come in. We look after a lot of the trans community, people who don't identify as any particular gender. And then as the team start to come through as well, what I've realised is the team are so open-minded, accepting. They come from lots of different walks of life when it comes to authenticity, their own gender, etc. So I feel like it's like what we've put out into the universe has came back to us, you know, like it's part of our story that we are inclusive. So because it's part of our story, that's been part of our journey.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. So you guys have built like a whole, like you're like, yeah, people know, like, I love how you're talking about how your salons are well known for what you stand for. Yeah. And I hope as you're listening to this, you're receiving that too. If you don't know what your salon stands for, or you don't know what your intention are with your salon, or if people can't look on your website, look on your Instagram, or walk even through your doors and know what you stand for and what the essence of your salon is, then start there. Figure out what that is or what you want that to be, and then embody it and make it a part of everything that you do. So then people will be attracted to that, because that's how you're going to draw in the people. That's how you're going to get your customers and your guests, your clients, is by embodying a specific essence of what you want to become. And that's how you will compete with the salon down the street.
Absolutely.
I don't want to say compete.
You're right, but be you. You're absolutely like, be you, find out your own USP. You can have multiple USPs. You can have one particular USP that is just all about you. Nothing wrong with that. But when you find that becomes your story. I say to people all the time, I use this in consultation, but stories lead to journeys and journeys lead to loyalty. And that is so important because when you start to tell a story, people get into it. They want to come on your journey. And when they've came on your journey, they're going to be loyal to you for a long time afterwards. So once you've got that unique selling point, get it. Jump on it.
Yeah.
Pounce on it. Roar.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Find like, people want to connect. People, like, if you think about being in a relationship with anybody, it's like almost like your salon is, in a way, people want to build a relationship with your salon, because we talk about this all the time. And I love reiterating it, is like your salon is a safe place for people to go and relax and do, and like find their, like, have change and just to be loved on and cared for. And like, they want to feel like they belong there. When your guests walk in, they want to feel like, man, this is my salon. This is where I go. Like, it becomes a regular occurrence, because especially if they're coming every 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to be a frequent shop for them. And they want to feel like they belong a little bigger and extra than just anybody who walks through the doors. People want that belonging feeling, whether they work for you or they're your guests, which is what I love, the essence of being intentional with who you are as a salon and who, even the people you hire. Because if you're not clear on who you want to be as a salon, then how are you going to know how to hire the right people who will cultivate that same vibe? And so being clear in that matters, which is what I love.
That's what I mean. I've been in this industry for a long time, and you know, I've done a lot with the corporate side of it when it comes to sales, etc., as well as education. And you know, the one thing we always teach people is people buy from people. We are selling services. You know, me and Kayla can do a fabulous set of highlights. Are they going to be much better than each other? Maybe not. But the difference is going to be when that client comes to sit in our chair. Who sells it to them? Who sells themselves? Who do they create a connection with? Who tells their story? Who do they decide to go on the journey with? And who do they then become loyal to? And that's the difference.
Wow. That is very well said. That's a good point, because I've had, like, in my own journey of having, because obviously I'm not a hairdresser, but I've gotten my hair done multiple times. And it's like, you spend 4 to 5 hours in that chair. It's like, you walk away and be like, man, I'm never going back there. Or you're like, man, that was really fulfilling in terms of, I had to sit and get my hair done and I really enjoyed the process.
Exactly.
And I love that. Man, that's cool. So when you go to hire in the spirit, I love the energy of you have a very open space, but you also have a very protected and intentional space, which I think is really incredible. So when you go to hire or when you even like have guests come in, like, how do you weed out like people, like what's your intention when you're hiring people? Like, how do you make sure that you keep that space protected and hire the people who are going to propel your vision forward?
Yeah. So I'm really lucky. I have learned over the amount of time that I've done this. I very, very rarely ever look at a CV. So if you come and hand me a CV later, I'll be like, no, babe, come on, let's sit in the back, sit down, let's have a coffee, let's chat. So for me, that's probably one of the most important things. I like to take people at face value. We do the obvious business things that we run checks and, you know, found the last employer, etc. But the important thing for me is just that we gel with that particular person. And do you know, Kayla, sometimes we bring somebody in and sometimes what will happen is they'll be in for 3 months and they'll show us everything that we want to see. And then it starts to change. And you have to, as a business owner, make sure you protect yourself from that. Make sure you're just at that stage where you have a trial period, and that trial period is like wash our hands with each other. We are not for you. You're not for me. So that's really important. I deliberately don't go out my way, as much as we're like an inclusive space. I don't go out looking for particular people, like I wouldn't say, oh, well, you're trans, you can definitely get the job. It's not that. It's just more, people are more attracted to us from that kind of community, which is great. Yeah. So therefore we have more option with it. And then, when you ask the same question about the guests, it's exactly the same thing. You have to be really clear with your guests, what's acceptable in the salon, what's not acceptable, topics that you can speak about, topics that are just like, you might have an opinion on it, but it's important to keep your opinion to yourself. We're all quite, how can I say, we're all quite forward in Glasgow. So, if somebody says something we're not quite like, we're all mature enough to know that we can disagree, but also we can say to that person, I don't think I'm the stylist for you, or the salon for you, or, so it's important.
Yeah, man. That's one thing that I do wish that there was more over here, is being more forward and more direct, and be like, hey, like you're not, like I feel like that is a lost art, and being just direct and not taking things so personal, and just being able to be like, yeah, man, you're not, because you, especially as a stylist, like you are literally physically touching them for long periods of time and spending time. Like I love when people have high standards, even for the guests that come in, and they want to protect their stylist as well, and be like, not every guest is welcome in my salon. Absolutely. And I think being able to again, hold the safe space just as much for the guests that walk in, but hold the safe space for the people who work there. I think that is all very important to, one, continue to maintain that, like your salon, because it's a safe place for people who work there as well as the people who attend there, and like caring so much about your salon that you can keep it a sacred, safe space for everybody who walks in. Yes. I think is such a cool, important aspect of owning a salon, and not just letting it be like, well, we just need all the clients, so anybody that walks through those doors, we will keep. Because that is a different heart to have in it.
Yeah, that's definitely not us, and it's not part of our USP. I have had, the odd client who's maybe been a bit rude, or maybe they've just had a bad day or whatever. And my job as the salon owner is to go up to that client very discreetly and say, listen, I don't know what's happening with you personally. However, that's not an acceptable way to speak to one of my members of the team. I'm afraid today is not your day for your service. If you would like to come back and rebook in a better mood, you're more than welcome. If not, maybe this is just not the place for you. And something, very rarely have we ever had any major issues, because people accept that they have a bad day, and they take it out on the hairdresser. So yeah, we've been so lucky with that. But you're absolutely right. There needs to be more, just be forward. Get the people in your chair that you want in your chair. Find your perfect avatar. That's who you're looking for.
So as we're kind of wrapping up, but these go by so fast. It's crazy. Leah, tell me as the people who are listening now, as we just had this conversation, what are some like main golden nuggets of advice or things that you've experienced that you would share to people who are listening today?
So for me personally, know what you want to get out from this industry. What do you want from it? We were talking off camera earlier, and I was telling Kayla, I am so passionate about growing people, whether that is educating people and growing their skills, or whether it's a member of my team and growing their profitability behind the chair. They get to buy their first house, or they get to buy a car, or they go their dream holiday. I'm so excited about that. I love making people look and feel fantastic. That's what I think most hairdressers do. But for me, that's my passion. And I would just put it to anybody who's listening, make sure you find your passion in what this industry is, what makes you tick. Because when you find that, every day will be a joy. Even the stressful days, you'll be like, oh, that's a joy. When it comes to the business part of it, I would say you need to know your numbers. It is so boring. It is the most boring thing in the world. But you need to sit down with those KPIs every month, find out how your stylists are performing, how is your business performing, where can you improve? Where can you pull back some money? It is so important. And do you know the other thing? I'm just recently out of hospital. I have had a thing called reactive arthritis. So I had like an infection, and then my joints swole up, blah, 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 long story. But it means I've not been able to walk, and I've been on crutches. Wow. So my nugget of just like experience for people who are listening to this, get the insurance in place in case something happens. Because so many people are doing so well with renting, opening their own salons. What happens if you can't work for 6 to 8 weeks?
Yikes. Good
so
point.
Luckily I've got that in place. I've done it in place years ago. But just that nugget, that's a nugget for anybody out there.
Yeah.
You might think it's money you're never going to see again, but I promise you it's a good investment.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. Thank you so much, Leo, for just your passion, your excitement, and your energy that you brought to this podcast. And I hope as you listening to this, that you took a lot away from this podcast, because I did too, in terms of getting back to the roots of your passion and what excites you and why you opened your salon in the first place. And remember why you even got in this industry. If you need to go back to being even before you open your salon of why are you in this industry? What do you love about it? Write it down, get it in front of you, remember it, and remember ways in which to remind yourself of that on a constant basis, because it is easy to forget. Life, it can be hard. And if you focus on what's hard about it or focus about the negatives, then that's where you're going to continue to follow those negative things rather than peel it back, get back to the basics, get back to why you fell in love with it in the first place, why you're doing what you're doing. What do you want to represent as a salon? And going back there, getting back to just, journal about it or whatever it works for you. Talk to somebody of getting back to that, understanding the heart of your salon, where it began, and then moving forward from there. So if you were listening to this and you are struggling with your salon, if you are fighting the need to close it down, you can reach out to us always. Our phone number is in the description. I'll put Leo's Instagram on there as well. You can reach out to him anytime. And we just want to support you. We want to be along the road with you, and we want to just be in your corner as people who've been through it as well. So thank you so much, Leo, for hanging out with us today.
No,
and yeah, anytime. We'll catch you next time on the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast.
Look forward to it. See you soon.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.